He believes that no matter which business you are in, once you are in business, you're also in the storytelling business. He also thus believes that every teacher needs to be a storyteller because children learn best through experiences and stories. Through Storywalas, he has coached not only business leaders and innovators, but teachers to leverage the power of stories. He loves telling stories to children, and even more than that, loves listening to stories. Hi, I'm Nivedita Mukherjee, and today in conversation with me is Amin Haq, a storyteller, a story coach, and founder of Storywalas. I will share the link in the description of the video. Enjoy the conversation and subscribe to this channel to listen to pioneers and thought leaders in the space of education. Thanks, Amin, for taking time to come to my show.
Pleasure to be in conversation with you, somebody who I have admired, somebody who I really adore, and whose work I respect quite a bit.
Thank you. Thank you. Very generous, Amin. Um, Amin, you and your team of Storywalas are known to be story coaches for brand strategies and corporate training. As much as you are known, or perhaps I would say I'm biased, even more in my area of interest, which is for leadership training, teacher training, gender diversity and inclusion, stories in education. I would like to start today by asking you, what is your opinion of stories? What is your definition of stories? Fictional, mythological, incidentals, autobiographicals, trivials, genres? How do we define stories?
So I follow a very, very simple definition of stories that we human beings at a physical level, we breathe air, but at a spiritual level, at a mental level, at an emotional level, we breathe and swim in stories. That's what makes us human. We are the only who who operate at the story level. We are the only species who can imagine and create a heaven for ourselves post death,
Hmm.
and then let that story guide
Hmm.
our entire life and our actions.
Hmm.
We are the only species who can imagine a hell and let our entire life be guided by that story and consequences of our actions, etc. So we can create stories in the past, we can create backstories for ourselves, we
Hmm.
can create science fiction for ourselves, which is set into the future. There's no other species on the planet which operates like this. So it is very intrinsic to the way we are.
Right.
We are designed to be story beings, to be story animals.
Fantastic. Yes. So obviously, you have been a big proponent of stories in education. If we are story beings, and if education is the bedrock of the thought process of us as beings, then what, in your opinion, is the role of stories in education? Do you see the need of taking stories from being limited to the literacy and the reading program, which are essential for the very young, to the stories adolescents, teens, and young adults come across growing up? What is the role of crafting our personal stories of challenges, of joys as young adults and adults? Stories beyond the realm of text?
Let me answer it at two, three levels. First, at the textual level, then at the larger adolescent level, and then at a deeper level, which looks at stories for what they really are. Let's start with the academics, the textual level. We know this, that the human being learns from experience and learns through stories. These are the two best forms of learning, and these are the forms that make learning permanent. I have conducted hundreds of thousands of quizzes now with school teachers across India and many other parts of the world, where I have quizzed them, simple questions. And let me give you a demonstration of that right now. I start my workshops by asking them, can you please tell me what's the formula for gravity? And there are science teachers in the room who struggle with that. And then I follow that up with a second question. Uh, I say, can you please tell me what's the Archimedes principle? And people struggle with the answer. And then I make it even more easier and I say, can you give me the Pythagoras theorem? And you would not believe it, Nivedita, but more than 60% of the people in the room struggle with that as well. And the excuses are always, there are always all kinds of reasons, but I am not a science teacher or a math teacher. I am a language teacher or I'm a social studies teacher, but you studied all of this. You studied all of these in ninth and 10th and 8th. Your success in school depended on it. So you mugged this up, you revised it multiple times, yet you've forgotten this. Then I said, do you remember the story about a hare and a tortoise? And everybody goes, yeah, 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 yeah. Then I said, do you remember a story about a thirsty crow? And everybody goes, yeah, yeah, yeah. How is it that we remember these stories, but we forget what we studied, revised multiple times? Then I changed my questions. And I said, do you remember? Now let's look at these three things only. Do you remember the story about a man sitting under an apple tree and an apple falling on his head? And now everybody nods and says, yeah, yeah, that guy was Newton. Na? And then we shift to Archimedes and say, do you remember there was a guy who filled water in bathtub? And then when he sat down in the bathtub, a certain amount of water spilled outside. And he looked at the volume of that water and his body. And he thought there's a connection between his, and the simple narrative we have fed is he ran down the street. He didn't. He filled the bathtub again and he sat down again. And he saw that the same amount of water spilled out. Then he filled the bathtub again, sat down again, and the same amount of water. Now, when his hypothesis was confirmed, he was so excited, he ran down the street naked, shouting, Eureka. Do you remember that? And everybody goes, yeah, 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 we remember that. We forget facts. And this is the human brain. This is not just the teacher's brain. This is also the child's brain. This is the human brain. We forget facts, but we remember narratives. So how do we make learning permanent? Stories can play a huge role. And that's why I believe every good teacher must be a storyteller. And if there is a gap in B.Ed and M.Ed curriculum in terms of preparing our teachers to be storytellers, that must be addressed. Because when our teachers become storytellers, learning becomes permanent. And there's something missing in education today. When we buy a sari and that sari has a hole, we return it and we ask for money back. Now look at the sari called education. There are teachers in the room and they don't remember what they learned. Isn't there a hole in that sari? So that's at the textual level. And that's why I believe that stories need a big role in academics, at the textual level, at the learning level of concepts. Yeah. So children get confused between rotation and revolution. Is it possible to explain it through story? Children get confused between area and perimeter.
Yes.
Is it possible to explain that through story? So imagine if math teacher learned the story method, the fear of the subject would go away. I have learned that there is a strong correlation. If we close our eyes and think about our favorite subjects in school, we also remember our favorite teachers.
100%.
And if we close our eyes and think about the subjects we didn't like or subjects we were afraid of, we are also reminded of teachers we didn't like or teachers we are afraid of. This correlation is extremely strong. So it's the teacher who makes the subject likable. And if the teacher can become a storyteller, every subject will be likable. So that's what we do. You know, our mission is to convert every teacher into a storyteller. So that's at the learning level. If we go a little, if we zoom out from there and we look at the fact that we are, you know, why is it that there must be a role for story beyond this? I think teachers should also tell personal stories when working with kids. And when the kindergarten teacher shares a story about what was I afraid of when I was your age, it plays a huge role in reassuring the child. The child, the toddler who thinks that, there's nothing right I can do in this world. When I eat, I spoil my skirt, I spoil my top. When I walk, I stumble and fall. When I assemble these building blocks, I can't get them right together. And I am afraid of the dark. I i wet my bed, etc. And when the teacher comes and shares the story that I was afraid of the dark, it's a huge help for that child. The child learns that, even this teacher was afraid of the dark, but today she's turned out to be so perfect. She's my role model. And that gives the child hope that I can be fine too. It's okay to go through this, that we all have to go through this. So teachers must share personal stories, not just stories for subjects or concepts. And that's where a deep connect happens between the teacher and child. And stories restore that which is balance, essentially. So when something is out of balance, story restores that. And this is the role that a personal story can play. Third, now let's zoom out at a you know and look at stories at a deeper level. How do we learn? So, I truly believe that every child also needs to be a storyteller for the future world. Yeah. If we want children to be leaders, then let's look at leaders. Gandhi was a great storyteller. Abraham Lincoln, good storyteller. Barack Obama, good storyteller. Nelson Mandela, good storyteller. So if you look at political leaders, let's look at spiritual leaders. Swami Vivekananda, great storyteller. Yeah, all the prophets, great storytellers. If you look at all the gurus, good storytellers. If you look at business leaders, right from Warren Buffett to Richard Branson to Jack Ma to Indra Nooyi, all of them, good storytellers. So when you see that correlation, leadership storytelling, leadership storytelling, leadership storytelling. So children need to be storytellers. Now, how do you learn that? The more you read, the more you listen to narratives, you become a good storyteller. So they need to listen to a lot of narratives. Now, the last layer at which I want to answer this is where I differentiate between storytelling as presentation skill or oratory, because it gets confused with all of that, and
Right.
people do and there are overlaps. There are overlaps between presentation skills and storytelling. There are overlaps between oratory and storytelling, but storytelling is more than that. I truly believe that stories are not just what we say, they are what you do. So as a school, as a school leader, as an education leader, one can't just tell a story, one has to live that story. So when there is and some of the best leaders have lived stories. I'll share an example. I think we're talking about storytelling. I need to tell a story.
Sure.
So I'll share a story. Ratan Tata was traveling by car with some of his senior colleagues from Mumbai to Nashik, and the car broke down on the highway. What do we do when the car breaks down on the highway? Most people go for a stretch break, and those who smoke take a smoke break. Men go behind the bush, etc. Now that's what his colleagues started doing, and they soon realized that Ratan Tata was nowhere to be found. So they went looking for him. Guess where they found him? He was sitting on the road, sleeves rolled up, helping the driver change the tire. Now you can enshrine and write in gold letters the values of the company at the reception in the conference halls. But story is not what you say. Story is also what you do. It is what you imbibe in your life and how you lead your life. I'll take another example. Mr. Narayan Murthy of Infosys wanted to send a message to his employees that please spend the money of the company. Please spend company's money as your own, which is if you're cautious with your own money, be cautious with the company's money. He didn't send a memo. He could have, but he started doing something else. He started flying economy class himself. Now let this sink in. One of the richest guys in India, one of the biggest wealth creators through ESOPs, he helped so many middle class engineers overnight turn into millionaires. That guy is flying economy. What was he saying through that? He was telling people and sending out a message that, and better than a memo, that I'm not asking you to do something that I'm not doing myself. Gandhi was a leader like that. He wove his khadi on the charkha. He led the Dandi march, took the first blow of lathi on his head. And this, in some way, that quality of storytelling defined through actions is what we see in the Indian army as well. In the Indian army, we have a very high casualty rate for officers as compared to other armies in the world. And it's because our officers lead from the front. That's how a school leader should be. That's how an educator should be. Lead from the front and lead with the story, not just that the one that you tell. But when the story that you tell is in alignment with the story that you lead through your actions, and when both of these are in alignment with your values, then that story is authentic. So I thought I'll answer it at the level of the text, learning, then at the level of listening and learning, why it's important that children become storytellers and teachers become storytellers, and why teachers tell stories. But I thought I'll close it here as to why it's important not just to tell stories, but to live that story.
Actually, that's very that resonates as an educator, as a teacher for me. For we are always talking of walk the talk, role modeling with your students, with your team. As leaders, we need to do the same things as we expecting the teachers to do. So if we are expecting the children to learn, the teachers have to learn. If the teachers have to learn, the leaders have to learn, and so goes the world. So I have been thinking about this for past few months actually, and the reason for me to connect with you has been that current times are, you can say, they are difficult times, they are warlike times, they are sad times. This is a time like no time that our generation has seen, and that our millennials have seen, or the Gen Zs have seen. So which means we have three gens who are living through this time period. So what would be the narrative? What kind of stories can we weave as parents, as grandparents of people like me, as educators, around their own lives, as immediate role models to the next gen, to their children, to their grandchildren, so that we all have a story that we can live to tell to the in the coming times, and not live to regret having telling in the future times. What is the narrative that we can possibly construct? What can we rely on? What could be the framework that you would suggest to us?
Well, there are two, three kind of stories, and this is a very good question. That we are living through times which are extremely challenging, uh, and they are challenging for everyone, but they are specifically challenging for children. Children are waking up in the same room that they slept in. Then they open a laptop and go to school in the same room. They do homework, they have assignments. Then, and because school goes on from 8 o'clock to 2 o'clock, they have breakfast or lunch, sometimes both, in that room.
Right.
Then they are not allowed to go outside because the pandemic is raging outside. So they are not able to meet friends. So they spend more time on screen in that room. And then they go to sleep in that room. And they wake up again in that same room. And they go to school again. No child has ever spent so much time within the confines of four walls as children are doing now, in recent past.
Yes.
So what kind of stories can we tell them? First of all, tell stories. Even before, tell a lot of stories, because so we've been doing a lot of storytelling sessions for children, for parents on how to learn storytelling and for them to tell stories to their children. But coming back to the question of what kind of stories, let me answer that at 2 or 3 levels. First, stories of hope,
Okay.
stories that convey that acknowledge that we are in a tunnel first, but they also offer the light at the end of the tunnel.
Mm.
Acknowledgement is important. We can't wish it away because we can't say that this is not happening. It is happening, and we can all see that. And children they can see that. So so anything that poo-poos it is not a good story. That says that Arey, kuch nahi ho raha, sab theek hai. That's not acknowledging the reality. So it's important that we acknowledge that we are in a tunnel. But stories that offer that light at the end of the tunnel,
Okay.
it's important. So my mother, for example, who has who was with us during the pandemic, I got her to share a lot of stories from the times of partition, from the times of riots. Uh, she got she was on a train and she was traveling from Gujarat to Kerala, which back in the days was a 3 day journey. Now also it's a 2 day journey
Right.
with the faster trains. But Gujarat to Kerala, it's a long journey. And then there was a river which was swollen due to floods. The track was actually broken. So if the train had gone further, one could not see the track. The track was submerged. If the train had gone further, then everybody would have died. The driver somehow, out of some instinct or a sixth sense, stopped the train. But when they stopped the train, there was water all around for miles, so they were stranded. Eventually, the food packets had to be. They were there for 3 days like that in train. Food ran out. There were people with kids. There were people with senior citizens. There was no fresh water. They were surrounded by water, but there was no drinking water. So army had to, through helicopters, drop food packets, and men would go from the train and pick up the food packets floating in water, and then food would be shared. And she was sharing these stories, uh, and she was still there. And the big point is she was still there to share these stories.
Right.
So getting people to share stories from their own experiences of how they have gone through tough situations and they are still there and they have emerged
Right.
from there. In a similar line of work, but I'll offer a parallel. When I work with corporates who are dealing with this and they say, how do we do this? I remind them that Colgate has been around for 200 years, that P&G has been around for 250 years, and that Barclays has been around for 300 years. What that means is, and let this sink in what I'm going to say, what that means is they have seen 2 world wars. They have seen the Great Depression. They have seen the Iran-Iraq war. They have seen the United Germany and the two Germanys and the Berlin Wall and the falling of the Berlin Wall. They have seen the Vietnam War. They have seen the disintegration of, they have seen the Cold War and then the disintegration of USSR. They have seen SARS. They have seen HIV, and Barclays is still standing. Coca-Cola is still standing. And it's just 300 years. So, uh, so, so teachers need to look at that history. Parents need to look at that history, and our own histories, and talk about that light at the end of the tunnel. So that's one kind of story. Two, and there are movies there. So there are a lot of people are watching a lot of movies at home, but there's indiscriminate watching happening. Watch good, great content. Yesterday with my daughters, we sat and watched a movie called The African Doctor, uh, which is about struggle and then hope and resolution, which is a victory at the end. Movie called Life is Beautiful.
Yes.
Worth a watch. Right now there are books, uh, the diary of the girl, the girl who wrote the diary while being in the camp. There's so many books that are worth reading right now and sharing with kids. So that's one kind of story. The second kind of story is the story of empathy. Empathy for for the for those less privileged.
Yeah. I wanted to ask that what kind of stories can be created in current times which would help us work together. So
Yeah. So empathy for the for those who are less privileged than us. We have seen last year the migrant labor and the march of the migrant labor. We in middle class India are dependent on drivers, on maids, on the iron wala, the Zomato delivery guy, or the Swiggy delivery guy who may reach half an hour late with the lunch that we ordered. But he's been dealing with his own issues. So there needs to be, there need a big need for stories of empathy where we walk in their shoes, try to walk in their shoes. So we are very secular. You know this that I I was born into the Muslim faith. My wife is born into the Hindu faith, and we are raising our kids with exposure to everything. My younger daughter Ashna is fasting today, but she is not fasting for purely Islamic reasons. She is fasting because she wants to experience hunger of the poor. So this morning when she woke up at 4, it's important that you wake up at 4, eat and experience that discomfort of waking up at 4. You can sleep through and fast, but no. So she woke up at 4, and so her prayer was a secular one that may I experience the pain of hunger and thirst that poor go through, so that I know what it is. Uh, so walking through other people's shoes or stories that help us connect, stories of the other. And there are enough titles available on
right.
Amazon that help us look at the other. Third, stories of gratitude, which is extremely important, uh, which is again, it's connected to the second point, but then it takes it a step further. It after connecting with the other, it also, we need to connect with our own, look at our own selves, and then offer gratitude for for what we have. It's time for these three stories.
It sounds wonderful, and I can keep on listening to you. And I'm hoping that we are all able to create stories of hope, stories of empathy, stories of gratitude, and cross this tunnel, as you say, together. In closing, I would like you to tell us, share with us, you believe that story has the power to change the world. If you were to write a moral of the story during this pandemic times, what would that be?
I'm not sure if I fully understood that question as to what is the moral of the story from the pandemic times, but let me try and answer it in a way that I have understood. Uh, there are, and I'll maybe share two stories. The best way to do this is not through a thought through answer, but maybe share a story or two. So I'll share two or three stories to answer this. Number one is a story about understanding the other. Once upon a time, there was a warrior, and this warrior was, this was one of the best warriors in the world who led an army, which was one of the best armies in the world. And wherever they went, they conquered that land. So he was on a quest, land after land. They would just keep marching, and they would conquer land after land. They would invade a king's territory and conquer that land. At the same time, in the world, there was another warrior, and wherever their army, this army went, they would conquer the land. One day, both the armies came face to face, and they embarked on an epic battle. By the end of the day, only these two warriors survived.
Okay.
They were battle scarred, they had wounds on their body, they had wounds on their heart, but everybody had died. They were surrounded by dead bodies, dead horses, dead camels, dead elephants, and dead bodies all around. And it was evening time, the sun was about to set. So one said to the other that it gives us no honor to go back from here uh, without seeing this to its ultimate end. So the sun is setting. Why don't we wait till tomorrow morning and then resume this fight? And only one man will go back alive. So they said, okay, let's do that. So they lay down there because they were exhausted, and they lay down there. And in time, the moon came up, the stars came out. And then the first guy said, when I go back from here, and the other guy interrupted him and he said, if you go back from here. So he said, yeah, yeah, yeah. If I go back from here, I will meet my son. I've been on the road for almost 9 years and I haven't seen him in last 9. I'm told he's 10 years old now. And my wife has been training him in horse riding and swordsmanship and all the things that make for a great warrior. But when I go back, I'll also teach him about the arts and about the music, because I have learned through my travels that these are also important. Now, when he finished speaking, the other warrior said, when I go back from here, and immediately he interjected and said, if you go back from here. And he said, yeah, yeah. But when I go back from here, I'll meet my daughter. And my daughter is about 9 years old. I haven't seen her in 8 years. I've been on the road. But I'm told that my wife is training her in the arts, in the music, in dance, in painting, poetry. But when I go back, I'll teach her swordsmanship and I'll teach her horse riding, because I think it's important for a princess to learn all of that as well. And then, to which this guy responded with a story about his father and the travels, all the travels and the battles his father had fought. And to which this guy responded with a story about his father. And this guy responded about a story with his grandfather. And he responded with a story about his grandfather and his lineage. And then he shared a story about the strange lands that he had visited and the customs and food and practices he'd seen. And to which he responded with stories about his own travels. And all night long, they kept sharing stories. In the morning, as the sun rose, both of these warriors stood up and they started putting back their armor on. And then when this guy drew the sword to fight the other guy and he looked in his eyes, in the other person's eye, he could see his son. He could see his father. He could see his wife. He could see his grandfather and all the stories he had heard. And he just could not fight him anymore. And the other guy experienced the same. And both of them put their swords back and walked away in opposite directions. And Nivedita, my grandmother used to say this, that once you have heard the other person's story, it's very difficult to fight with them. So in this time of pandemic, and I'm going back to point number 2, that what kind of story should we tell? The stories of other people, so that there is empathy. It's very important that we listen to the story of the other.
Yeah.
Once we listen to the story of the other, we will have a better world. So let me close then with what storytelling is about. At heart, storytelling is not just about telling. It's a misnomer. Storytelling, it's about listening. I haven't found a good storyteller worth his or her salt, a good teacher worth his or her salt, a good educator and a good parent who's first not a good listener. Everybody wants to be a good storyteller. सब अपने मन की बात कहना चाहते हैं. बच्चों के मन की बात कौन सुनेगा? So first you have to be, and so I'll close with a poem and a story. There was this is a true story. There's a large NGO in Dhaka called BRAC, and they work with one of the things they do is they set up refugee camps for refugees, people who've lost their homes, belongings in floods, in other kinds of operation, people who run across from the border, from the other side, Rohingyas, etc. So they have set up these relief camps. These are basically tents where people live with whatever their meager belongings are, whatever they could save, maybe a radio, some utensils, clothes, etc. So one senior officer was going and conducting an audit and meeting people and seeing if everything was fine. And in one tent, she found a 9-year-old girl. So she asked the girl, Beta, what would you like to be when you grow up? It's a great question, because she was checking for hope where everything had been lost. So the girl, she pointed to a TV. Now that's very strange. Maybe this family had saved a TV when they were escaping the floods or wherever, and that TV was there in the tent. So she pointed to the TV and she said, Auntie, when I grow up, I'd like to be a television. Most grown-ups would not know how to handle this question. how to handle this answer. They would smile, they would feel uncomfortable, and they would just move away. They would think there's something wrong with this child. They would make fun of her answer and they would judge her answer. This lady, she didn't do that. She didn't judge the child. There was no expression on her face except curiosity. And she said, I find that interesting. Why would you like to be a TV? And the girl said something I have never forgotten. She said, Auntie, when the TV speaks, everybody listens to it. What the girl didn't say was more important than what she had said. And a good teacher, a good parent, a good educator would listen to would have heard the unspoken. कि जब टीवी बोलता है तो सब उसको सुनते हैं. The unspoken is, I am sure you've understood this, कि जब मैं बोलती हूँ तो मुझे कोई नहीं सुनता. When I grow up, I'd like to be a TV. So when you become a good listener, then only you can become a good storyteller. Otherwise, you are an orator. So I'll end with a poem that children today are going through a lot. They're going through a lot. We are trying to keep them hooked. We are trying to keep them positive. We are trying to tell them stories. Are we listening to what's going on in their minds without judging? And are we extracting stories from them? Because they have stories to tell. And those stories will come out when we don't ask them the routine questions. We ask them routine questions. What happened at school? What is for homework? What was taught today? You will get routine answers. But if you go away from that routine set of questions and ask, what made you happy today? What surprised you? What did you learn this week that you didn't know earlier? Something that you didn't know. What have you learned? You feel helpless today? What made you feel helpless today? We don't ask those questions of kids, and therefore, our conversations. So, but they have stories to tell. So listen to their stories. So I did this research some time back, and I came up with this. That in this research, I stumbled upon it. Somebody said this, that the word children hear most often when they are growing up to 10 years of age is no. The word they hear most often is no. Then the word after that, and they made a list of top 10 things that children hear. The second word on that list is keep quiet. Keep quiet. In school, at home, when we go to restaurants with our friends, we tell our kids, keep quiet. Can't you see adults are speaking? Here's the phone, keep quiet. So we are not listening to their stories. So I was deeply disturbed by that. And there's I love you also on this list, but it's at number 7. It's at number 7. So there's something fundamentally flawed with this list. So I took the second item on this list, keep quiet, chup raho, and I wrote a poem. So I'll end with this.
Yes.
It's an appeal from children. It's an appeal from children to adults. And this is how it goes. जब हंसता हूं तो हंसने दो, जब रोता हूं तो रोने दो. जब हंसता हूं तो हंसने दो, जब रोता हूं तो रोने दो. ये भी क्या बात हुई कि जब देखो ये कहते हो, चुप रहो, चुप रहो, चुप रहो. कभी कभी तो रोता हूं, कभी कभी तो रोने दो. कभी कभी तो रोता हूं, कभी कभी तो रोने दो. ये भी क्या बात हुई कि जब देखो ये कहते हो, चुप रहो, चुप रहो, चुप रहो. 2 आंसू गिरे नहीं कि कोई आया बहलाने को, कोई आया फुसलाने को, कोई आया टॉफी लेके, कोई आया हैंकी लेके. 2 आंसू तो गिरने दो, दाल तो गीला होने दो. ये भी क्या बात हुई कि जब देखो ये कहते हो, चुप रहो, चुप रहो, चुप रहो. क्यों क्लास हमारी लेते हो, क्यों लेक्चर हमको देते हो, जब भी रोता पाते हो बस वहीं शुरू हो जाते हो. इतने बड़े होकर के भी क्यों बच्चों जैसे रोते हो. एंड मच वर्स, लड़का होकर के भी क्यों तुम लड़की जैसे रोते हो. अब कौन इन बड़ों को समझाए, अब कौन इन बड़ों को बतलाए कि तेंदुलकर भी रोता है, धोनी भी रोता है, 1 रन से मैच हार के विराट कोहली भी रोता है, मर्द को दर्द भी होता है. आप कहेंगे ये तो देसी है. अरे रॉजर फेडरर भी रोता है, नदाल भी रोता है, एंडी मरे को देखो कितना रोता है, आमिर खान भी रोता है, शाहरुख खान भी रोता है. बड़े बड़े शहरों में ऐसा छोटा मोटा होता है। मैं तो छोटा बच्चा हूं, मैं तो छोटा बच्चा हूं, मुझे छोटा ही रहने दो। ये तो मेरा बचपन है, बचपन को बचपन ही रहने दो। ये भी क्या बात हुई कि जब देखो ये कहते हो, चुप रहो, चुप रहो, चुप रहो। तो उनको चुप ना करें, उनके पास बहुत कहानियां हैं। सिर्फ उनको कहानी सुनाए नहीं, उनकी कहानियां भी सुने।
Wonderful, wonderful. I mean, I think that is the moral of the story, I would say, of the current times. Uh, Listening, sharing, understanding, caring. Beautifully said, beautifully worded. May you tell many more stories. May we learn from you to tell many more stories. May the life be a story with a happy ending. Amen, Tathastu, and Inshallah to that.